Dobre Dean, everybody. Aaron Feenstra here from Countryside Corner, also from Countryside Acres. Make sure you check out both channels. This channel is dedicated to interviews and question and answers. The other channel is our everyday family life, farm life, vlog life, travel life. Eventually, it'll be all farm stuff, more or less. Today, we got another interesting interview with an expat who has also come with a large family. Joe and his wife have 6 children. It's Joe Schutzman. I think I'm saying that right. Schutzman. He came to Russia recently, and they are in the Moscow area. So very interested to hear what he has to say, and I think you guys will like it as well. He also has a YouTube channel that you can look up. The link for that will be down below. As always, please drop your comments down below. It's very interesting to hear what everybody has to say. If you have any questions, also post those. If you would like future interviews with any of our guests, you would like a repeat, write that down below. Perhaps you know another person or you yourself would like to be interviewed. Email us at countrysideacreshomestead@gmail.com. That will also be down in the description. All right, without further ado, let's get into this interview. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Countryside Corner. Here we're all about faith, family, and freedom. Brought to you from no other than Mother Russia.
Yeah, so I'm Joe. My wife is Anne. We are, I'm an American. My wife is Australian. We moved here last year, September of last year, left America and moved to Russia. There's many things that you could do talking about how that came to be and all that. But I think the shortest version I could say is we saw what has been happening for several decades in America, but especially in the last 3 to 4 years. A lot has certainly happened, not just with the presidential office who happens to be running that, but I think the world it's been shown the world over who people really are. How countries really and truly react to when they're under real pressure. And so we ended up in a situation, regardless of what you think about the COVID and the theories and the conspiracies. I generally tend to separate those two. But I think the point being is that you got to see people under a tremendous amount of pressure. And Americans did not look pretty on Americans. I will say that much. I was walking around and getting in all kinds of trouble for my position on this, which you didn't really, as you know, had to say anything during that period of time. So just how people were acting. And then as far as the sexual ideologies, I guess you can call them, it's just amazing that this is even a discussion. But even that has just advanced just a ridiculous amount of time, both for you and us in Canada and in America. That's just gone completely crazy in the last 3 to 4 years, particularly. But we've seen it coming. It wasn't like surprise, it's here. Like, okay, this is just we sped up. That's
it's been it just keeps going. Yeah, I think in the last 2-3 years. It's accelerated for sure, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it has, and it's going faster and faster and faster now.
Yeah, no, and did you see that interview that Tucker Carlson interviewed Dugin, the philosopher?
No, I haven't watched
Russian
that yet.
Philosopher.
Nope. Not yet.
Got to totally watch that. I was 20 minutes well spent, and I think he gives a very solid explanation. He doesn't talk specifically about the speed, but from how he's explaining kind of the new goals of the new liberalism, not the classical liberalism, which I don't even know if I agree with that technically 100%, but neoliberalism is definitely a lot worse. And I think that the goals that they're setting for themselves, I think it's only necessary that they actually have to go faster and faster. But there's a problem with technology, and the better the technology gets, whether it's social media, messaging, and all this sort of stuff, things spread a lot faster. People change a lot faster. I feel like I'm a completely different person than one of my siblings that's 10 years younger than I am. It's like we live in two completely different realities, almost, it seems.
You come from a large family?
Oh yeah, I'm the oldest of 12 kids.
Okay, oldest. Yeah.
Yeah, Oldest.
So I'm the youngest of 10, so it's a different dynamic, I suppose. But I would think that
I'll bet.
I would think for the most part, at least 9 out of the 10, I think we would all agree on how far things have declined. It's just not maybe to the same degree, because some of them would never move. They might think that what we've done is crazy, but not crazy even. I think they see why we did what we did. I just think they think the Russia part is the crazy part, I suppose. But
Yeah.
they're all alarmed by what's going on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Nobody really is questioning why you left. It's so much
Yeah.
as where you went. Yeah.
Yeah. But why Russia? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people do
Exactly.
that.
No,
Yeah.
it is funny though, because I think, probably for yourself, we haven't had this conversation yet. A lot of new conversations today, but from our perspective, when you're going to leave America, you better leave America for good. Like, this is a kind of a one-way ticket, opportunity to really establish your family generationally in the future. Like,
Yeah.
if you actually think that this is a problem, like, people say, okay, yeah, Joseph, but look, it's not that bad. We've been saying it's not that bad for 20 years, and it ain't
That's right.
anything what it was
That's
like
right.
20 years ago, right?
The reason people do that, this is what I teach my kids all the time, is that the Bible is a measuring tape, and you need to measure everything by the Bible, not by your surroundings. And what people always do is they look over there and they say, well, I'm doing better than that guy, or I'm doing better than that guy. And churches do this all the time, because like the church I grew up in, they always compared themselves to the church that they had broke away from. And they always say, well, we're still better than those guys, not recognizing that both were going down the hole.
Yeah.
And humanity does that. So stop comparing to the people around you, because it's not that bad. It could be worse. That's what I hear a lot. Oh, it could be worse. Oh, yeah,
Right.
sure. If you lived in North Korea, I'm sure it's a lot worse. But it doesn't change the fact that Canada, if you compared it to 30 years ago, Canada is not the same country as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same time period, that's what I keep trying to tell people. In the same time period, Russia went like this, and we're going the other way, right? So
Absolutely. No, I had a guy that a friend of mine, or at least I thought he was a friend of mine, for 20 years, and all of a sudden just starts getting out there on social media and just starts slamming me, and out of completely nowhere. Like, there wasn't a message, there wasn't a call, like I didn't, do anything to tick him off or anything. And he's just like, I lived in Russia, blah, 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 blah. It's a complete, show us the real Russia. And I was like, dude, you're living in Rome. Take some pictures, show me the real Rome. I'll tell you what, I tell you, it's a lot uglier. I was just in Rome last year. I'll tell you, it's a lot uglier in the real Rome than it is in the real Russia, whatever that's supposed to mean. But like you said, it's completely changed. And I was like, when did you live in Russia? Won't answer that question. I was like, maybe it was a little while ago. I'm willing to bet it was a little while ago.
Either that, or they lived in Western media's version of Russia, right? So a lot of people are experts on Russia based on. Actually, I watched an interview today. This is totally. I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but anyway,
No, please.
I watched one today. One of my viewers sent this to me. Say, hey, what do you think of this? I think the guy's like 70, 75 years old, and he was watching this other guy who has a Russian accent. He does not live in Russia, though. I think he lives in the States. He went to several universities in the States anyway. And I would guess the man's in his 50, 55. I've seen him before. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, but he was talking about Russia and talking about the demographic crisis and all this other stuff and how bad Russia is. So I'm like, listen to this stuff. It doesn't even make any sense, right? So I broke it down for him and tried to explain. But there's a lot of experts on that side of the pond. Like you said, they left here maybe in the 90s, and that's the last memory they have of Russia, and it's just evil through and through. And then Western media is constantly feeding that and interviewing those people, right? So those are the expert witnesses now, right? So rather than taking a look here, I mean, I can give, and that's what I gave this guy. I said, listen, go to this YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. They're all people that live here now, right?
Mm-hmm. No,
firsthand.
Exactly. I had somebody who just sent me a YouTube channel of a Russian. I forget again the name of the guy, but he was a Russian. Was this guy a Russian that you were referring to?
The guy I was watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a heavier set fella, bigger guy.
That's the guy. I saw him too. Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the channel right now. But
it was very. He's like, no BS, no. We just tell the truth here, and he's just like speaking like really straight to you, and then he just has a bunch of videos that are literally contradicting obvious reality. Like,
Well, I only watched this one, and I only made it through the first 10 minutes. I'm like, this is utter nonsense. Like, I'm not going to waste another 30 minutes watching this guy. It's just, he was claiming that Russia has a demographic crisis, which sure it does. The whole Western world does, right? And
Yeah.
that the unemployment numbers that are 2.8% right now is terrible, and that Putin's saying that that's a good thing, but that's actually like economic collapse, is what he's saying. I'm like, what? By what measure is that an economic collapse? Right? You don't want, sure, you don't want to run out of a workforce, but everybody's running out of a workforce. Canada is bringing in a million immigrants per year right now that are contrary to the traditional culture of Canada. Where do you think that's going to lead you? I mean, the whole Western world's having the same problem. It's not unique to Russia.
I mean, that's an interesting dynamic that's at play. But you make a fantastic point. Everybody is having a demographic crisis, but I think that that Russia has a really good shot at fixing their problem before anybody else fixes them, because they're after the people who are just want to be left alone, given the opportunities to raise their families.
Like I told this guy, I can only think of one country right now that actively sees that there's a demographic problem and is actively doing something about it, right? I mean, Canada is still 100%. Trying to increase abortion rates, still trying to tell everybody that we're, killing the planet with too many people and that you should have smaller families. What is Russia doing? They're trying to encourage large families. They're lowering the abortion rates, right? They're making incentives to help large families. It's a totally opposite trend. That's the only country that I know of that's doing that.
No, so you're 100% correct. And you get this. I had the same problem when I was for the last, I don't know, at least the last decade, where you hear what Putin is saying and you're just like, okay, this is a trap. This is a trick. Like, this guy can't be for real. Like, he is literally saying all the right things. How is that possible that there's a world leader that exists that is actually saying what needs to be said at a very and at the same time being, I think, as diplomatic as one can be while still saying the truth. I think you could say it harder, much harder than what Putin is saying, and yet he's the evil dictator of the East. But after you coming here and seeing it in its reality, you're just like, okay, yeah, no, this guy's for real. This is really happening.
Not just saying it, doing it. We've got lots of politicians back across the pond there that say it, but they never do it. So, no, that's other people have told me. Well, he's a dictator. I says I don't believe he is, but even if he was, he's the greatest dictator ever. Then, because under his time in power, look where this country was and look where it is today. And we've run through, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different politicians in that same time frame, but they have all drained the country this way. Right?
So true.
In the States and in Canada. So I don't care if he's a dictator, great, then he's still a great dictator. You talking about large families, you got a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, we have number 7 on the way, Mikhail.
That's what I heard.
Yes, so we're very excited to have him. So we just picked out our godparents for him, and we're getting ready for him to show up here in a couple of months.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you very much. We're very excited.
You came from a large family. Your wife did too.
Yes, she's number 4 of 13, actually. So she's doing one up on me, like she does on most things.
It doesn't happen often anymore. I'm the youngest of 10. My wife is the youngest of 4. So, but in her side of the family, and we're basically the only ones that had a large family. My side of the family, I think my parents got 50 grandkids or something now, something like that. But,
fantastic.
So out of 10, awesome. I guess that's an average of 5. Then I suppose, but we have 9. But,
that ain't bad. That is not. Those are some good demographics there. I think that people should continue to say this math out loud, because it does not take a long time for some motivated large families to come over here and actually move needles.
Right. Yep. Change the demographics. It's still hard to get over here, though. We could talk about that sometime as well.
Sure.
How long you been here now? You said a couple of months. I can't remember if you were here longer than me now or not.
I think I got here right before you, September.
Oh yeah, we didn't come till January.
2023.
So.
Yeah. So just enough to jump into the fray and stumble all over the place.
About 6 months then now, roughly.
Yeah. Just over that, yeah. So it's let's see, we're in May now, yeah. So yeah, we came in the middle of September. So yeah, about like 7 months or something like that.
Okay. How well
So,
were you received then, and what about now? Has anything changed?
oh, it does feel like it's been a while, honestly.
I'm sure there's been a lot happened. I know it has for us.
Yeah.
So.
You just strap the fire hose onto your face and just start ingesting as quickly
Yeah,
as you
yeah, yeah,
can.
yeah.
No, we were received extremely well. Like to the point where it was like you didn't know what to do with the amount of help that was being offered to you. However, of course, there were plenty of laws that we weren't aware of, things that are just very different than going to another country. I've traveled quite a bit over Europe. My wife has traveled even more than me, in fact, much more than me, and I thought I was a pretty well-traveled guy. And this was a whole new experience. I think in all fairness to the Russian government, that at least I can speak for Americans, that we're not used to being the immigrants anywhere. My wife, on the other hand, had done immigration already, going from Australia to America, so she had already endured the paperwork of the American system. And there are some ups and downs, but I think there's some basic ones. Obviously, our very good mutual friend, John from Australia out in Altai, he's been banging the registration drum for a long time, and that's still a problem. I think that, we talked about, I really tried to push the limits of the technology to say, look, I'm going to overcome some of these other obstacles that maybe not other people would be willing to spend the time to do, take screenshots to, figuring out how I can actually, what I mean is just trying to work my way through the technology and simulate what Goseslugi tried to demonstrate, that foreigners could register themselves. And it's actually still impossible. It is actually impossible.
You need help.
You need help. You absolutely need help. But even if you get the help, it's like some of the systems that are in place, they work, but I don't know how much consultation was actually done with foreigners coming into Russia on these digital systems. I think they're a fantastic idea. I think that they're right there, but we even went and got a SNILS number and everything, couldn't get through to get to the right level of Goseslugi to register ourselves. So, sorry, that was a long bit, but the point is that the registration is just definitely a huge problem. People don't want to register you. People will rent to you. They'll take your money, and then you say, hey, register. No. So spent a lot of money just coming out of the chute. Had to switch to another hotel. Got no refund on the other place. And had to go pay for all new lodgings in a little hotel for a couple of weeks while I was trying to figure it out. But then we did very quickly after that. We did get into a house. So I think we went from coming into the country to 3 weeks, I think. 3 weeks. And we were in a house.
That's
3.5
not terrible.
weeks. No. I mean, I was pushing the limits, and I came in February 2023. I had already gotten a bank account. I had already started having these discussions about what needs to be done. I went and looked at real estate in February with a relocation company. The relocation company I already was speaking with for a long time. So I laid a lot of groundwork in advance to come into the country from a logistics perspective, because I wanted to be as smooth as possible for my family. That there are some just tribal knowledge, I think is the best way to say it, of being able to share that with people before they come, just some rules of the road, so to speak. Yeah. So I think that's important. So we got some amazing help to get into the quota quickly. And
government help, people help.
Everybody. I mean, everybody help. I mean, my new landlord, he gave us a discount on the rent of what he was asking for the property. We negotiated, and then he ended up just saying, I'm just going to take $100 a month off the rent. He's both he and his business partner are big family guys. They were very excited to have us. They welcomed us into this new rental, got us set up. paying like
Nice.
$1,000 a month for a nice log home with 2.5 acres on the outskirts of Moscow. I mean, for where I'm living and what I have, it's an amazing deal. That's all the utilities and everything included in that too. So we are very happy with where we ended up with the help from the government that we got for getting us into the quota and getting us applied for our temporary residency
Quota
before
system, yeah.
we had to leave. Yeah. So yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
have to
awesome.
leave the country or anything like that. So that was good.
It's nice, and a lot of people have said that. A lot of the viewers, maybe yours too, have said that it's unrealistic the amount of help that we've been getting. Most people wouldn't get that, and I understand that, but we're very appreciative, and we're hoping that the more Westerners that show up, for one, we're going to be able to help people that come, but also that the government's going to see maybe what needs to be fixed, what needs to be changed, and that those people will get help, but just in a different way. They'll start changing some legislation maybe to better suit Westerners that are coming. I hope, anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think it will. And I think that I think that there are still some lingering people in several different places that aren't really convinced that Westerners want to come, which is fascinating to me. But they really do need to come around, and I think they are coming around to the fact that more Westerners want to come. And I think that there's a great exchange that can be made, that we can help, and certainly we would appreciate the help, because it's not easy, but to get relocated and everything. But
it's a lot to
yeah,
navigate through. That's what we found. Even before we came here, like people are like, "Well, didn't you know you were coming? Because this is a new thing." Well, no, obviously we knew we were coming, but there's a bunch of different schemes, almost not schemes, I guess, but different ways you could get here. None of them are like straightforward. There's no, oh, you're a farmer. Yeah, we got a farmer plan. Come on over. Like it's, you got to jump through this and bend through that, and we can probably make this work. And then once you get there, we're going to do that thing. And then, oh, hang on, it all changed. We're very thankful, and it's working out. We're still here. We're not planning on leaving if they'll keep us. Hopefully, it'll continue on that way. But
yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. I don't think I would get this kind of an opportunity anywhere else, in this, what I am looking for my family.
right.
So it's worth going through all of this, and I really want it to work just like yourself, so that more people are wanting to come, and we can help grease the wheels to and show people. The first people are always going to be the ones that are the stumblers, not necessarily because of their own fault or our fault, their fault. It really doesn't matter. It's just testing a system out that hasn't been
new trails,
utilized.
Right? We're doing something that nobody else has done before, and there's always growing pains in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
sure.
did your family think about the move? Your immediate family, wife, kids. I don't know how much discussions you had before you left, but also both of your families, extended families.
Yeah. So I will say that we left pretty quietly. We didn't want traveling with children and whatnot. You don't want any troubles, on your way out, or anybody thinking that you're making some bad decision and they need to run that up the flagpole somewhere. So we left, pretty quietly. So my family knew, but not very far in advance. So I think people were pretty on my family side. On my family's side, everybody was just like, okay, well, he's going to do what he's going to do, and he'll either stay or he'll come back. And didn't really have much discussion about it. It was a lot of silence, in fact, about the whole thing, which I thought was a little bit weird. That's me personally, but hey, whatever. I would be asking some questions. But
for sure.
The dynamic, like you would say, Arend, is a little bit different when you're the eldest versus being the youngest. I think.
Well, I learned a long time ago. I just do my own thing, and my family knows that too. I'm just going to do what I feel is best for me and for my family. I've done that for years, so we didn't bother. The same thing to do. I didn't tell anybody till. Well, I got one brother who thinks exact same as me. Not that he's ready to move, but politics and all that stuff. Yeah, we're on the same page, and so he knew long time before we were leaving.
Gotcha.
Probably one or two other brothers I had mentioned it to as well, but for the most part, we kept it quiet as well. We just didn't need all the extra drama. Yeah.
There's that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On my wife's side, it was we got a lot of support from my wife's side, specifically from her parents. they're, at first they were just kind of like, wow, let me process that. Okay, that's awesome. Please tell us
Oh, really?
how it goes. Yeah. So we're very grateful for that. But you can't show
Right, I
them.
got that. I've got that with my own family, I guess. So on my wife's side, I think they're coming around. I was actually surprised
Yeah.
how well they took it myself.
Oh, nice.
I know my side. No, I mean, well, my parents came from the Netherlands, so they grew up through the Cold War. It was right on their doorstep, and so to them, Russia, it's just bad. There's no way of coming around. And like, I show all these different things. Yeah, that could be, but Russia's still bad. And then you see my videos. They're like, look at all the nice people. Look at the nice cities. Look at the comments. Yeah, that could be, but Russia's still bad. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll never come around. They're older as well, right? My parents are pushing 80 years old, so
Oh,
you know,
wow. Okay.
hard to
Well, so they
adjust
were
in, right?
so how did they give you any commentary about being called traitors for leaving their country and all that sort of stuff for another country?
No.
Oh, you grew up in the Netherlands.
Well, no, I was 4 when we left the Netherlands.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but we were all
So
born there. No, I never got any. They never got told that. I don't think. I mean, obviously, their family would have liked to see them in Canada as well, but or in Netherlands, sorry, but it was getting tougher over there. And uh, religiously, they wanted to leave already. They seen the churches declining there in the Netherlands, and they've only gotten
sure.
worse since then. So
Yeah.
that would have been one driver, and also just more opportunities. Similar lines, I guess, as what my wife and I are doing, but I think my wife and I take it a step farther yet. I mean, I have a real desire to see all of my children fear the Lord and in a place where they can safely do so. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that they'll appreciate that, and I think long term they will. They're gonna. If I'm right, I mean, part of me hopes I'm wrong, but if I'm right, it's going to continue to collapse, and it's going to be so bad there in a number of years. It's at the rate that it's going now, it's going to get so bad. I think the decisions that you and I have made will become very obviously right. And
Yeah.
this is an interesting thing. So I know some people, Mennonite people, who came from here when the Russian Revolution happened, but they didn't. I mean,
Hmm.
their ancestors did.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of history there as well. The first ones that left, they were like, "Yeah, something's not right. I'm leaving." And the people that stayed, they're like, "You're crazy. Why would you leave? There's nothing wrong with this country. Everything will get better." The next ones left, they can only sell their properties for half the value, maybe. The ones after that got persecuted so bad they left with nothing but whatever they had in their hands. And the very last ones never left. And so I use that same example. So in Canada and in the States right now, you can freely leave. You can sell your properties and go, and everybody thinks you're crazy. But if this trajectory continues, the next people, the economy is going to start to collapse. You might get half the value of your stuff. The next ones after that probably won't be allowed to leave, and we'll have to try to escape somehow, right? So maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I don't know, but that's where I see it going right now.
Yeah, well, one thing is for certain. At some point, it's not the how and the when is what's up for discussion. It's not the if, right? So, if
That's right.
people want to
Yeah,
play
yeah,
that, they want to play that game, then they're more than entitled to it. I'm not going to judge them for making their own decisions for their family, what they believe that God is asking them to do.
that's right.
But I do I do want to take the opportunity to go ahead and tell people who are stop calling people traitors and cowards for thinking of their children, putting their children first before their own convenience or their own comfort zone. It's extremely
Yeah, you hear
uncomfortable,
that a
as
lot.
you know. Oh yeah, oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's impressive. It's impressive.
On
No,
YouTube
but
from total strangers or from people you know?
I've heard it from both, actually. More
Okay.
from strangers than people that I know. But it is, it's sticks and stones from my perspective, right? I'm doing
Yeah,
this. I
yeah,
didn't do it for me. But for their own sakes, this whole idea of we need to stay and fight. Okay, when people actually want to start fighting, in the real sense of the term, I don't know. Let's have a conversation about that. I have a bunch of kids. I don't think that you're asking, fathers of families with children to start going out and fighting, but just staying in place and, having a comfortable life and staying in your comfort zone is not the definition of fighting. That's not it. So just existing, liking things on
no,
Twitter or
no,
YouTube for
no.
that matter, isn't doing anything. This is pure information to inspire others to act, to do this, to act, whatever that may be. I mean, you have to discern those things for yourself. I'm not telling anybody that they got to do what I did or how I did it or anything like that. But do something. Do something.
Yeah.
If nothing else,
I would
this
agree with
helps.
that, but
Yeah.
I find that I don't want to say it's not fixable. If God wants something fixed, it'll be fixed. But historically speaking, and biblically, all these patterns, things have to hit rock bottom before they get better. And I don't think it's hit rock
True.
bottom yet. And there's such a problem in the West that there's so many thousands of denominations of churches that can't agree on basic stuff. They could never possibly unite as a common front against what's evil. Right. And that's, I think Satan's laughing about that. You guys are so divided fighting about some of these trivial matters. Look what happened. Look what's gone on in the West in the last 30 years as these churches are all fighting amongst themselves about scraps. There's real stuff happening. And until that changes, I don't know. And I don't see it changing until it's right on its knees. It's at its darkest hour before people start to say, okay, hang on, we got to work together and do this. Because even though social media posts, some people are posting some dumb stuff. It's like, that doesn't really matter. Let's focus on what really matters, right? But
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think it's
Absolutely.
cowardly to run away. I think it takes a lot. Unless you've done it, you wouldn't know. So I mean, you're in the same position I have. It takes a lot to just pack up and leave everything all of your comfort zones, your language, your culture, everything, and leave that, jump on a plane, and come to something new. I think that takes a lot more guts than staying home and hoping for the best. Myself, but.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. It is not something that I'm going to tell people that they're doing the wrong thing by staying, but you don't do not think for a second that you need to be going after other people for doing something that you
Making
weren't willing
decision.
to do. Yeah,
That's right.
We got to go do that. So
I know one brother of mine, we've discussed this quite a bit because they also see what's coming very clearly, and they thought about leaving, they prayed about it, and they feel God wants them to stay. Now, their children are older than mine. Their youngest is 14, 15 years old. So different demographics again. And for them, they feel their children are in a safe enough place and have good convictions that they're not going to lose them to this. And so they want to stay there and fight, or not fight, not in a physical way, but try to challenge this, try to help out, he's a youth pastor. He counsels a lot of challenged, troubled teens. So there's a huge calling, obviously, for that right now. And so for his place, I believe it, he believes it, is right there. For me, my oldest is that range here. Anyway, my oldest is 15. So it's a different demographics again. You got little babies at home. It's, for me, I think it was important to come over here.
Absolutely.
It's more of a discussion than an interview. It's actually kind of interesting, but anyway.
I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it.
Me too. Yeah, no, I like it. Well, each one's different. Each person you talk to is different. And that's why I got this list of questions, but it's just kind of a basic guideline. It makes for good conversation. So
there you go.
All right, next one. Were you shocked at all by the differences, West and Russia? I don't know if you'd come here on a holiday or not or whatever, but there's some differences between here and America.
There are definitely some differences. I think one of the impressive differences between the West and the East is the concern for hygiene. I don't consider myself to be a unhygienic person, but gee whiz, when you go walk into somebody's front door, you better take your shoes off. You better ask for the toilet within 5 minutes and ask to wash your hands, or they might ask you to go wash your hands. So there's some rituals there that I think are very impressive, and we've been gotten much more used to those kind of hygienic rituals that people want you to do regularly, like across the board. This is not an exceptional type of situation. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Okay.
Obviously, the language was definitely a huge smack in the face. That ain't an easy language. I will say, when I came in February, it was more intense than when I came in September, because the main thing that I changed linguistically was to learn the alphabet before I came back. And Russia was completely different for me from then on, just having the alphabet under my belt. And just being able to read the signs, that's a huge
just
difference.
The basics. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see what else shocked me. I would say the most emotional moment for me, that was kind of stunning to me. this is a little bit religious, or not a little bit, very, very religious, in fact. I walked into Red Square, as one does, as coming into Russia, you get to Moscow anyway, you're going to go see St. Basil's Cathedral. And I walked into the cathedral and I just started walking around, and I really began to cry like a little girl. It was extremely moving, in fact. In America, we have this difference, we have this difference between like the Orthodox in America and traditional Catholics. I won't speak for Catholics in general, but for traditional Catholics, which I am one, we kind of have an antagonistic relationship with them. But you come over here, and you actually see kind of the birthplace of, Russian Orthodoxy. You really begin to feel the terrific pain of the separation between the Orthodox and the Catholic Church that has gone on since, 1054, I think, is more or less when we talked about the Great Schism between the two of us. And
do you ever see yourself, and I don't know your theological differences per se, but do you ever see yourself joining the Orthodox? Like, wouldn't that be simpler?
Oh, it would certainly be simpler.
The viewers don't know this, but your friend Justin and I have had a lot of conversations as well, and so it's very hard to find your specific branch of Catholicism here, correct?
Understood.
It's a little bit harder to find. And so is that something you would see, maybe going to Orthodoxy instead? Or?
No, I don't see that. I think that if you were comparing me to the separation, I would be the Catholics that had existed, for the vast majority of the existence of the Catholic Church, up until, the 1900s, shall we say. 1960, very, very seriously so, but definitely the 1900s. So everything before that, I hold on to that theology.
So that's a relatively new divide, then, really.
Oh yeah, very, very, very much so. 100 years ago, more or less. And so that doesn't stop my disagreements that I have with the Orthodox. I will say that we've made some very good Orthodox friends. We have very good friends now with an Orthodox priest that's down the road. He definitely sat down at my table and we had the conversion conversation. And I just said, look, Father, I appreciate this. I respect very much that you take your faith seriously enough to say, look at me and, say, hey, look, I have the truth and I think that you should convert. And of course, I would say the same in reverse to him as well, except we both know that if we take our faith seriously, that's really, there's a difference there that actually needs to be taken care of at a broader level. And I think that it's upon both the Orthodox and us Catholics who hold on to those age-old traditions that that we need to pray for God to actually solve this, because it's not going to be. I don't know how it's going to look. Is the point? I'm sure you and Justin kind of talked a little bit about Fatima and some of the
nothing really in depth, but he told me it was hard for him to find the type of Catholic church that he went to back in the States. So there's not too many of them around, I guess, basically. So
yeah, there are a lot more than it. And
I wasn't aware. I have some Catholic friends, but I mean, most of them go like twice a year. They're not super serious, and I didn't know there was different branches of Catholicism out there. I had no idea. So I learned something new. You learn all the time, I guess. But
yeah, it's a pretty clean. I don't know if I would call it a split. We still refer to the Pope as the Pope and whatnot until it's proven otherwise that he's not in fact the Pope. Obviously, he's clearly a heretic, I think, by anybody's.
I thought about maybe running in that direction right now because there's some issues that came up lately, but I thought maybe we should save that for a second show because there's a few challenging things that have come out of his mouth lately that I'm like, that's a tough one to swallow. So
challenging is a word, or heresy is another one, but we could definitely pick this up on something.
Yeah. Interesting. So reasons for moving. I think you already covered this a little bit, but.
Mm-hmm.
Just the moral decay, basically.
Yeah, just the moral decay, and I think again, people have talked to us and said, hey, like, don't you think this is maybe a little bit premature? And I'm like, what? So we can leave and go somewhere else as refugees instead? Like, I want to think ahead. I don't want to wait for something to happen to me. I want to react before the problem happens, and people aren't forgetting right now how important that is, because these are the children. Even if you're going to protect your children, these are the peers of the future. This is what's being raised right now. It is going to look a lot worse when these people grow up and become adults and start making decisions at political and business levels. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a complete nightmare. They can't figure out who they are, what gender they are, what sex they are. They can make business decisions, apparently. I didn't know. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Even farther than that, they'll be running the government, right?
Absolutely. In fact,
they'll become your Supreme Court judges and all this stuff. Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
As unthinkable as that is, that's what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I don't think people are thinking in that term very much when they're talking about. Yeah, and it's going to be there. Give it another 20 years. Hey, and they're grown up.
Canada already has a prime minister that's partially a product of that, I think. So. Yeah.
Arend, I feel your pain. Regrets on moving.
I'm gone. He's not my prime minister anymore. So.
Yeah. There's that. Regrets on moving. I think my only regret is that I didn't move sooner, honestly. I think that's the only one.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah.
What about packing and stuff? Did you guys take like a big container full or just what's in the suitcases, or what did you do?
Yeah, we sold everything we had, literally. And we brought 10 suitcases, and that's all we had to our name. And yeah, I had to part with a lot of family heirlooms and, things that were special to us, things that we'd had for a long time and all that. And yeah.
Only 10. That's it. You reduced everything to 10.
10 suitcases, yeah. That was it. So
you did a lot better than we did. We still brought 28, so.
Okay, well, you have older children too. You can't have a discussion about every single item that you're putting in the suitcase, right? Yeah. I have my oldest is a 6-year-old, so I'm like, sweetheart, it's not coming with you. You get one teddy bear. That's it, okay? So we'll get you some more stuff when we get over here. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned John Hare earlier, and that's what he told me. He says, "Listen, everything you have there can be replaced here cheaper." I was like, "Well, that's a good point."
It's true.
So. Other than tools, I wish I would have brought more tools. That's one regret that I have, because good quality tools are harder to find here, and I have them all sitting there in Canada. So we're actually trying to figure a way of getting them here right now.
And they're nice and heavy, so those kilogram tariffs are going to kill you.
Oh, absolutely. So my mother-in-law packed a suitcase. She's got 65 pounds in there, whatever that is in kilos. 50 pounds the limit. So she packed it to 65. So we're paying for overweight big time. And then it got shipped DHL. So it went from Canada down to Cincinnati in the States, from there over to England, then to another place in England. I'm watching the tracking. So anyway, then it went across to Germany, another place in Germany, then back to England. And then now it's at Heathrow in England. So I don't know why it's moving around so much. It seems like a lot of extra work. It has to go to Georgia. Gosh. That's where it's going. And then a friend of mine from Georgia is going to ship it up here to Russia. But.
Wow. Well, you got to let me know how many tools are still in there when it gets there.
Yeah, exactly. I was concerned about that too. I said we're going to do a trial run and we'll see what happens. And if it works out, I might try some more stuff. But it's not cheap shipping, that's for sure.
Yeah, can imagine.
What is the biggest piece of advice you would give to anyone else contemplating the move coming here?
Don't try to move by yourself. Or at least come into the country by yourself. Get help. Ask for help. Focus on tribal knowledge before you get here. But yeah, don't try to pull this off by yourself. It's not going to go well. Not going to go well.
Like immigration lawyer.
yeah, get yourself an immigration lawyer.
Yep.
There's some good relocation companies. There is not a one-stop shop for everything. I've also found, so don't let anybody tell you that they can do everything for you, because they cannot do everything for you. At least I have not met that person yet, and I would, if I ever do find that person, I will ask them, where the heck have you been all this time? Because
it might happen yet. Again, everything's
Sure.
geared up for immigrants from different countries, right? It's not geared up for people from the States or from Canada. You know, I wonder if there's a statistic out there somewhere of how many people actually moved, you know, from the States, let's say, or from Canada in the last 10 years. I imagine it's pretty
Yeah.
low versus what I think is about to happen anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that there's a lot that needs to be done in that direction. Yeah, I think there'll be there's some potential in the future, but I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that at this point in time, things are still quite complex and unique by region, than your duties to the federal government and whatnot. So, you know, find people who are specialized in specific things. I'm happy to make any recommendations for people that I found that I thought were good in regards to this. And also, I think in that entire, there's so much to tell you, so or to say in this regard. So I'm glad that you kept it narrow. But I do want to say also that people need to come with the expectation that things do not move super quickly here. This is an American thing. This is a North American thing, maybe even. I'm not very familiar with how Canadians operate, but I'd say at least from an American perspective, things that you think should go very quickly do not, and also things just happen completely out of the blue. So you just got to be braced, ready for anything. Remember why it is that why you came, and what's important to you. I got to say, many times my wife and I looked at each other and were like, "Is this?" No, and then you just you click on some American news. You're like, "Oh yeah, no, this is totally worth it." I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I am not complaining.
Yep.
I am grateful. Thank you so much.
We have that a lot. Yeah. I've had it multiple times. I'm just going to be honest. Sorry for all my viewers. I don't want you to be disappointed, but we've had that a lot of times where I sit down like, are we making stupid mistake here? Like, but I'll ask my kids and none of them want to go back. They all want to stay here. And then, like you said, you go read some news articles of what's going on in the States. And like, I'm glad I'm not over there. I'm still part of some groups, some like Signal or Telegram groups and stuff. And you read some of the stuff that these people are dealing with right now. Like, oh man, we don't have any of that problems here.
Yeah.
To add to the other thing you said, I find that Russians have an incredible amount of patience that I do not possess, and something that we should, as Christians, we're supposed to have a patience level, right? So something maybe I'll aspire to, but yeah, they're incredibly patient. I just don't see people getting upset or angry about having to wait in line or none of this stuff. They just seem to be very courteous and kind and patient. So it's remarkable.
Yeah.
We want everything
I even
today.
showed up late to a business interview,
now.
and people were, when I showed up late to the business interview, people just were like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. Traffic in Moscow." I was like, I'm beginning to hear that more frequently. Just blame it on traffic in Moscow.
They probably all use the same excuse.
Yeah, and everybody just does it. It's okay. It's fine. Nobody's worried about it. So. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, well, there was construction on the road just up from our place. Here was construction, so there's 3 lanes crammed down to 1. I mean, you sat there for the longest time, and it's not a very long distance, but you'd have to sit there and wait and wait and wait. But nobody's upset, nobody's honking the horn, and everybody when they did get to the bottleneck, they're like, "Oh, you go first," and we're always joking. That's like a Canadian thing, right? We're always polite. "Oh, sorry." Well, these guys got it mastered too. They're extremely patient. Yeah. No, it's your turn. You go next. Oh, okay, that's good.
No, you're absolutely
on that
right,
note. Do you ever consider moving back?
No. This was we bought one-way tickets for a reason. We knew that we weren't sure that it was actually going to work out. I feel like we are very comfortable that everything is going to work out just fine. We've put our trust in God that this is the move that we needed to make. It wasn't made lightly. It wasn't made in a short amount of time. But at a certain point, you got to stop thinking about it and just do it. But I think that we were already most firm on the decision that we were leaving. And so going back was not an option. If we were to put ourselves in that situation, there would have had to be some major shift, or I don't know what. I really don't know what it would take to change in reality. Even in theory, for us to go back, it's unthinkable to me. I never say never about anything, or I try not to say never about anything.
Yeah.
But I have zero intention of going back. I would probably seek out another place to go to if, for some strange reason, this became unworkable. But the Russians would pretty much have to make it very clear that they don't want me here to make me leave.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we're in the same boat. I have no intentions of going anywhere else. I mean, if things change here drastically and suddenly they're hunting guys that look like me, then maybe. But but for now, I don't see anywhere else in the world to go. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day where we're Russian citizens, and this is, well, it's already our home. I'm not planning on leaving, but then it's official. We got your passport,
Yeah.
and this is us. It's we're no longer Canadians living in Russia. We are Russian, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Amen to that.
Safety. That's always a big one, I find, because I found our cities, even our countryside, was getting less and less safe. And here, I see things differently. What do you think?
Yeah. I have to keep reminding myself that this is the equivalent of New York City of Russia, right? Living in Moscow, right? So this should be one of the worst examples of, or one of the best examples of just the worst amount of crime, in the country.
Yeah,
it should be.
Fair enough.
And I've never felt safer in any city more than this one. I mean, it's kind of unreal. This is obviously tied up with children because you and I both have, big families. So when we think security, it's always tied up with the safety of the wife and safety of the kids, right? So the people
100%.
that are always looking out for your children, no matter what, there's always people watching out for your kids, whether they're like walking too close to the street or whatnot. Maybe it's like, I feel like sometimes a little like overkill. Like, hey, it's okay. I see them too, and they're like, no, but just make them back up. They're really caring for your kids all the time. We jump on the metro, jump on the train. People are like, whoa, that's a big step. Like, we're gonna help your kids. They just grab our children's hands and walk onto the bus with them or onto the train with them. Like, they're their own children. Who does that? Like, it's just a huge difference in America just for how people treat people. And I think that that's, of course, what is deeply connected with security. I've heard, horror stories about security things, happening here and there in Russia, and this person got arrested, and this person got arrested. But it is not like this everyday occurrence that you hear about. It's always like it makes the news. Oh, wow, this guy got arrested today for blah, 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 blah. You're like, whoa, that happened here? Because you don't see the crime happening. This is not,
right, okay. Yep.
you don't see it. And you feel safe. I'll give you another example. We went to this park that was a little bit north of me. I'm on the west outskirts of Moscow. But north of me, there's like this massive forest park. And I have like a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And they, got tickets to go up into this like forest walkway where they're walking like 10 feet above the ground with some nets under them and whatnot. And there was another expat family that was there, and they're just like, okay, let's go. We're gonna go down, like walk to the other side of the park and go do this. And I'm like, I got my kids there. They're like, oh yeah, we're in Russia. Never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna walk with y'all. We like walk to the opposite side of the park because these kids are just like up there playing in the nets. And I'm like, well, they're perfectly safe. There's nothing to worry about. There's nobody coming to take them. Everybody's looking after your kids, and it's just like, I'm still getting used to that.
So for people that don't know, well, I don't know either. Where did you come from? Were you in the city there in the States?
I was in I was in Kansas City. Kansas City, as you probably have heard is proportionately the second worst city in crime for the United States now. Proportionately.
No, I did not know that. Okay.
That's Kansas City now.
How big is it, though? How big of a city are you talking?
Wow, it's been a couple of years since I lived in Kansas City. Population 500,000.
Okay. Pretty small compared to Moscow.
1.7, but still.
Oh, okay.
Huge difference.
Still pretty small. 10% of the size. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
One thing that I've noticed increasingly in Canada, which I never saw when I was a kid, is the homeless rate and tent cities and drugs. Like they're everywhere now. There's needle boxes and druggies all over the place. The last time we came back into Canada from the States, we went on a holiday there. We came back into Sault Ste. Marie and stopped at the local Tim Hortons as our coffee spot to get a cup of coffee. And there was 5 of them in the parking lot there that were clearly on drugs. 2 of them were just barely standing up, twitching away. 2 of them looked like they were trying to sell themselves for money. Plus they were high on drugs. It's just very visible now, and it's never. When I was a kid, you just did not see that. And also tent cities, you see a lot of people now living in cardboard boxes, in tents, just on the ground. And I never, ever, ever, ever see any of that here in Russia. So, but you're in Moscow or close to Moscow. I would think if there's a problem, people tend to go to bigger cities. It's easier to survive that way. Do you see any of that there?
So I'm not going to say that there are not homeless people in Moscow. I have not seen said people. I've been all over the city, but it may not be known to many people that in Russia it is illegal to be homeless, and that is
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's actually illegal. And at first, again, as somebody who's been coming from the socialist, the now socialist West, right? You're like, what do you mean they're the victims. The homeless people are the victims, and we've grown to think about this, that the homeless are the victims. And again, in a certain sense, very strictly speaking, yes, you could say that they're like
some,
that. But
some
Russia,
maybe are, yeah.
Some might be, right? But your leg's cut off, Russia takes care of you if your leg is cut off. It's not like they just go be homeless, Right. It's not like that. They actually take care of you, but they don't also, they say, no, it's illegal to be homeless. You need to find a situation or explain why you can't do X, Y, or Z, and then we're going to figure it out from there. So it's my understanding that you get a fine just straight up for the first offense. And then I think you spend a night or 2 in prison for a second offense. I'm sure there's a Russian that is ready to comment on this and explain exactly what the law states. So I'll let you tell him exactly. But there's basically several layers of this, and then eventually you end up in big trouble if you continually offend this.
Okay, but I think that would be one reason why we don't see it then either.
Yeah. But this is how it was explained to me, that, it's actually illegal to be homeless in Russia. Go figure. What a concept. At least that motivates people
and drugs,
to not be homeless.
I hear they take that very, very seriously here as well.
That is also my understanding.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I haven't seen or smelled anything that looked like weed or looked like or seen any other kind of drugs. I'm not saying, again, that it doesn't exist. I'm sure it does, but there's the severity of punishments over here does seem to help motivate people to not disobey these kind of laws about drugs and stuff like that.
That's been an argument that I've held in Canada for many years. The punishment needs to fit the crime, right? If you started, I don't know what country it is. We heard about it when we were younger, but there's countries in I think it's somewhere in Asia, someplace where you steal something, you get beat with a stick outside the shop if they catch you. And, second or third offense, they cut off your hand. And it's like, whoa, that's really drastic. So, but I'll bet you the crime rate is extremely low there. Versus in Canada, you can watch people. You'll be standing in Walmart and you just see somebody grab something, walk out the door. And the guards at the front aren't even allowed to stop them, because if you touch them, you can get a lawsuit, right? So,
absolutely.
It's such a contrast, right? If we were just tough on crime, we wouldn't have so much crime.
Absolutely.
Interesting. All right. Last question I like to ask everybody: where do you think Russia would be in 5-10 years, spiritually, economically, whatever?
It's a good question, and I would think about it. But I would say that if Russia stays the course, I think it's the most important thing to preface this. If Russia stays the course and realizes that they're the ones holding the banner and act accordingly to that and continue in moving in the direction that they're moving in, I think that they will be a highly successful, more successful country than they already are. I was having a conversation with some gentlemen today at Victory Park, asking what the population of Russia was before World War II, and they said about 170 million. I think Russia right now is like around 150 million. So despite what has happened in this past century, which was a lot of people died, and they're going to come back and actually, that was 170 before World War II. That was a pretty awesome number. It's not going to take long for them to be magnificently superior to most other countries in the world. And I think that they will be a tremendous safe haven for those people who want to stick to traditional values before God. And I think God there will be greater honor and glory that is given to God through Russia that will pale many countries, I think, in history.
Interesting. Yep. And then along with that, if I can add to that, I would think anyway that the blessings from God for that faithfulness will be shown then as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what's going on in the West. And there's so many layers of what's going on in the West, but people have walked away from God, and now I think that's what we're seeing, right? He's removing his blessings as, if you're going to continue to walk away from me, then I'm going to remove these blessings that I once gave you, right? So, and I think we see the opposite going on here. Even despite all these sanctions that were supposed to cripple Russia, it hasn't worked. It's actually made this place stronger, and I just can't see that that's a coincidence. So.
No, I do not think that there is. And again, you could be a lot more radical than what Russia is already, but what has already been done is showing you can go so much further, is what I'm trying to say, than what Russia is already doing. But for those who want to criticize Russia for who they are right now, just get over it already. Nobody is doing what Russia is doing right now, and you want to criticize the country that is doing the most of any country in the world, as far as I can tell, from where I sit, before I came here. I think is an absolute.
Well, that's probably why they are
standard.
criticizing it, right? So,
sad but true. Sad but true.
Right. The average people probably don't really know. They're just parroting what CNN or CBC or BBC says, but the powers that be are criticizing because they have an anti-Christian agenda, right? So
absolutely. No, the people that I hear making complaints and making jabs about, Russia and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, you supposedly come from a traditional or a conservative background, and I've heard, these kind of people talk about how they're not programmed and how the mainstream media is always lying to you. If they say one thing, then you should probably think the opposite. But somehow this specific situation, the mainstream media is right on this one. Or they won't even say it like that, right? They'll just, I know. I was like, wow, you've been to Ukraine? Oh, you've been to Russia? Oh, wow, hey, good for you. I didn't know that. When were you there? Oh, you never been. Oh, you don't know anything about this part of the world. Okay, cool. But you know it, I guess.
I found the exact same irony, because people that were for 2-3 years of all the nonsense that went on in the West were telling the whole world how nonsense the mainstream media was on these points. It's just like you said. Now they're parroting what they're saying. You realize that's still the same media, guys. It shows how dumb and simple humanity can be, right? So
it is. No, we choose what we want to believe, and I'm sure that a lot of people watching this will say that we are choosing what we want to believe, but I don't know. Again, I don't think it was convenient for either of us to come. I think it was fairly difficult. I would, in a different time, I would have preferred to stay where I was, just because it's too hard to do that, or it's very hard to do it with children. But
Yes.
this is absolutely worth it. This is absolutely worth it. I'm just very glad that
If I didn't have kids, I wouldn't
it.
have done it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a great point.
I would have stayed where I was.
Yeah.
And even now, sometimes, it's selfishness that creeps up in me. I'm like, man, this is difficult. It's really hard. You sure you want this kids? And no, that's their future. So, okay, well, then we'll do it. They're the ones that are going to carry me eventually. They're going to learn the language a lot faster than I will. And I'll just take a back seat. I'll get to drive their tractors on the farm and they can run the business. So eventually,
Nice.
it'll happen.
There you go.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I said this to yesterday's guest as well. I think we could have another segment or two, just a lot of different things that we could go in different directions on here. So
Absolutely,
it's been very fascinating. You have a YouTube channel as well. For everybody that doesn't know that, what is it? I guess it's written on the screen here, right?
Yep, Home in Russia. Just youtube.com/at Home in Russia. So
at Home in Russia, or just Home in Russia?
Home in Russia.
No,
if you put it in the thing.
Oh, you mean the at symbol? Yeah,
exactly.
Gotcha. Yep. And what are you primarily doing there? Just showing people what Russia's about, or?
Yeah, so I've just been taking some footage around where we live in Moscow and whatnot, and just I only started about 10 weeks ago, so I didn't have a particular theme that I was striving towards, but just wanted to start making videos with daily life with our family, things that we've seen while we've been out. So sometimes I'll take Florine out and we'll go take a look at we looked at a toy store. She went to a big, awesome grocery store for her birthday. It is way more exciting than it sounds like. But yeah, those are the videos that we made up to some point. So I've taken a lot more footage, but it's like Arend, the editing life is the hard life. That's where the real work is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. My lovely wife does, I would say, 98% of all the editing. So.
Whoa. Yeah. Oh, I am jealous. I am jealous.
When we started, we both were doing the videoing, and we both were doing. Well, I was doing probably most of the editing, but I just don't have the time, especially when farming seasonally. I'm just swamped. I don't have time for editing, and so wandering around with the camera. Okay, I can manage that. And she didn't really enjoy the camera part, so it's become more and more just me on camera, and she does all the editing. Yeah,
that's
on top of raising all my kids. So she's a pretty busy lady.
Yeah, she is. Amazing woman.
Language studies are struggling a little on, well, both of us are, but it's, I married good. I married real good. Can't complain there. Awesome. Well, everybody go check out Joe's channel and see what his family's up to. Watch his videos. Give him a thumbs up. Don't forget to thumb this one up as well. And head over to Joe's channel. Hit subscribe. I'm sure you'd love to have more subscribers on your channel as well. But it's been a pleasure chatting to you. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
All right. Thanks a ton, Arend. Sounds like a plan. Look forward to it.